Brave podcast. I have a mother-daughter duo here. I will not tell you what students call them. They can tell you that. Super happy to have Maddie Clements and Nichole Clements here with us today, and we'll kind of get rolling. Nichole, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and what inspired you to be a teacher.
This is year 26 for me, and a lot of those years have been spent at Webster County. I was a Webster County girl, grew up, went to high school there, went back after college. I've worked in Union County for the past 3 years, and then probably about 2010, I was in Union County for a couple years as a curriculum instructor at the high school. And when I started, I really had no intention on being a teacher. I was going to be a lawyer, and I took an education class, and we had to go to all different grade levels and observe classrooms. And I guess you could say the first time I walked in, I was hooked and ready to teach because it's what I love to do.
So, Maddie, your mom's been teaching for 25 years. These are 26 years. All those years, how do you think she really played a role and had an impact on you being an educator?
Oh, well, like she said, she's been teaching for 25 years, and I just turned 23, so education's been my whole life. And I can remember fondly as a little kid being taken to like Webster County basketball games and having like all kinds of kids taking care of me, wheeling me around. So education's just always been a part of my life. And kind of being there tag team with my mom, especially those first couple years of life whenever I was the only child before my siblings came along.
Nichole, you talked about your time at Webster County. You talked about your time in Union County. Amy Nelson at the high school, I think she's just a fantastic principal, and she's climate and culture. What is your favorite part of being a part of Brave Nation?
There are so many, it's hard to pick just one. But I would say the most important thing that stands out to me is that we are always there to help each other at the high school. You're not afraid to ask for help. You're not going to be told no if you ask somebody for help. Everybody loves everybody, not just at work, but outside work. And I love the fact that what I love the most about the high school is all of our babies. Everybody having all these babies at the high school, and they share their babies and they let us love their babies and their children and be a large part of their life. So it's almost like I leave my family, but I'm coming to my second family. And to me, that's so important to be able to establish, especially with these young people coming in, and just knowing that you work at a place that your family is first and you are first. It just means a lot to have that, and it's a great place to work.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Whenever that place, you said it best, like it's your second home. Whenever a place of work could be your second home, it just gives you a good sense of belonging. Maddie, your mom taught history. You teach history almost. How many years have you taught history?
Probably 23 out of.
So 23 out of 25 years, and then now you go into ag, and so what really sparked your passion as far as ag education is concerned?
So our family's involved in agriculture. We live on a third generation family farm, so I've been around agriculture my whole life. And there's lots of pictures of me with my dad and uncles on the farm in the grain cart or in the combine, kind of hanging out with them. But I was really involved in 4-H here in Union County growing up. And mom and dad forced me to do speeches because I wouldn't talk to people. And I used to kind of stutter over my words. And since they pushed me into doing the Country Ham Project, where I had to give a speech in order to get the ham to bring home, that really pushed me into agriculture, but also my involvement in FFA in high school. I didn't go to high school here, but I had a great experience in FFA. If it wasn't for my agriculture teacher, I don't think I would be involved as an ag ed teacher now, but in FFA at all.
That's awesome. But sometimes in life things just fall in your lap. Maddie Clements fell in my lap last year at the middle school. One of the greatest things that could have happened to us. Just talk a little bit about what you feel like you've accomplished so far in just such a short period of time. Just how you've affected the middle school and how ag works.
So I got a charter over the summer for Union County Middle School FFA. And that's kind of what kicked off this year for me. Last year I had the entire 7th grade class to kind of test out agriculture and see if it was something they'd be interested in. And by the end of the year, I'd say probably 75% of them actually enjoyed the content in the class. But this year I really wanted to kind of dig deep, dive in, and see if FFA could be successful. So this year I have a little over 40 students between this semester and last semester, and almost 15 to 20 of them are dues paying members. So I still have a couple that are on the fence, but they pay dues to be an FFA and be involved. And I think that number is just kind of crazy that almost half of those students see the benefit of FFA and see what their older siblings or cousins or family members have done at the high school, and they're like, "Oh, we can do this at the middle school now." So they're really locking into what the vision is, and the hope is that they either stick with it at the middle school if they're in 6th or 7th grade, but if they're in 8th grade coming to the high school next year, that they want to lock in and they want to be in agriculture at the high school.
We have a lot of Harvard Brave nominations, and a lot of those people, a lot of those nominations come from staff, they come from community members, but very few of them come from kids. And it was really cool reading Maddie's because it came from a student. It was a student who did not think that they would be interested in FFA or ag. And they had her class and they walk away and they love it. And you talk about sparking that passion in other people. And that's just one example. It's just a really cool thing to reflect on and just know that you made a difference in just at least one person's life and how it sparked their passion moving forward. Nichole, this is not meant to say that you're old. I would never say that. Last night, I'm working on these questions in the bed, and my wife says, "Who are you interviewing tomorrow?" I said, "Nichole Clements." She said, "Oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite teachers." My wife is now a kindergarten teacher. Uh, so you've seen all these, young teachers come in. If you could give them any advice on how they can make the greatest impact in education, what would you say?
First, I would say it's okay to call me old because at the high school I'm old Miss Clements and this is younger little Miss Clements, so that's totally okay. Um, there's so much to say, but I have to say first and foremost, above anything, that you need to pray over your classroom every day, and you need to pray in the morning over your classroom. You need to pray at the end of the day over your classroom to have a peace. And when you come in the next day, it's good to know that every kid has a clean slate, because they're kids and they mess up. Yes, accountability is big, and I'm big on accountability, but we've got to teach these kids that failure is okay, and that productive struggle is okay, and that life is hard, and but if you try your best, everything will work great. And I always tell people too, if you don't like what you do every day, then you don't need to do it. I love coming and seeing my kids every day, even the ones who I tell them press my buttons and boil my water over. I just love teaching. I don't know how to describe it. I always tell people, lots of people have hobbies, they knit, they're athletic, they're sports. I'm a teacher geek and I'm 100% okay about it. I love it. I get excited about seeing my kids. I love celebrating my kids. And my kids my own kids over time have learned that they share their mom very well. And so I think you also need to have that mentality that when these kids come in your door, they're always going to be one of your kids, even if it's 15 years down the road, like your wife, or 20 years down the road. That once these kids come in your door, you're always going to love them no matter what they do, and they're always going to be your kids. So
Yeah, we talk a lot about it. People focus on instruction and all the details within that. And, we still always have to focus on the biggest part of that, which is the relationship piece. And I think what you just shared speaks to that. Every kid needs to be held accountable. Also, every kid needs to know like they are loved every time they come into your classroom, and they're a part of. Let's talk about a second home for you as a staff member. That's their second home too, and it seems like you create that. That's awesome. Um, if you could redo your first year teaching, reflect back on that year, is there anything that you think like, man, I wish I would have known this walking in the door?
well, I came in a half a year in a special ed EBD self-contained type environment. I didn't know anything about it. I was just happy to have a job. I graduated on a Saturday and started on a Monday in December before the semester even ended. Um, I would say that if I could go back, one thing that I would do, the young me, I don't need to be their friend till they graduate, but I need to be their biggest fan and their biggest supporter and their biggest ally and cheer them on. And I think the first couple years of teaching, that's probably something, the relation aspect is something that I didn't do very well. And I had to fix that. And so I hope that Maddie sees that because, she sees the relationships and I see that and it makes me so proud of her. So if I could go back, yes, I would go back to the first day of teaching and I had a kid say cussed me out my very first day of teaching and I just cried. I didn't know what to do. So I would say that definitely those relationships are something that if I could go back that I would redo with those kids that I had the first semester or first couple years of teaching.
So, Maddie, looking forward for you, you have a lot of years left in teaching.
A lot of years.
What do you feel like is the next step for you in your teaching career? What are your future goals or dreams?
So right now, I'm really focused on the middle school aspect of FFA. It's really new to this part of Kentucky. It's been pretty popular in central and eastern Kentucky, but I actually just finished presenting my capstone project last week. And my last step of my capstone project was growth and expansion. So that's kind of all I'm thinking about currently is how can we grow? How can we expand? And I do foresee myself sticking with agriculture education for the foreseeable future. After I get my master's degree in May, I decided I'm just going to take a little break from school and go from there and see what happens. But I really love agriculture education and can't see myself anywhere outside of the classroom. So I'm going to stick with ag ed.
So we're going to start this next question with the fact that Nichole Clements is never going to retire. We've already established that. She's just going to stay here forever with us. And we appreciate that. But if you were to retire, what would you want teachers and students that you've had to say about you?
That's a hard one. Definitely, I would love them to mention that we have had many come to Jesus talks, is what we call them. Those are talks of what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. That I always told them the truth, and it may have been hard and it may have been difficult, but that they always had support. They always felt comfort. They always felt welcome, and that they always felt loved. Teacher wise, I would want them. I would hope that someone would say, when I asked Miss Clements for help, she would always help. She always jumps in and wants to help, and that I mean to me that's the most important thing is being a team player, and that people can say she was always part of our team and did the best that she could. But for those kids, I mean, I could go countless times. I just know that I see them, 25 years, 24 years down the road, and some of them, I have one that's in charge of submarine fleet in the Pacific. I have one that does NPR in DC. I have one that's doing music in San Francisco. I have kindergarten teachers. I have nurses. Um, I have so many kids that have gone out into the world and just done wonderful and amazing things. I have kids who are the best mothers and fathers in the world. I have kids who have been in jail and been addicts, but now they're reformed, and they're recovering and they're speaking about what they do. So I would just hope that maybe they remember the things that I tell them the most, and that is keep it simple. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Keep it simple and let it go. And so those are maybe some words like that. Or
Maddie, your mom brought up, she's created. You feel like you've been part of some of these people being great mothers and fathers, and we hear the advice that she gives on here, and obviously she's a fantastic educator. I'm assuming that she's probably been an okay mom too. Um, with that being said, what's the favorite thing about your mom?
On a serious note, my favorite thing about my mom would definitely be like her love for the Lord, probably, and she passes that along to her students, and I think that's really important. But on a light-hearted note, for our birthday every year, she cooks whatever we want. And my birthday was a couple days ago, so she cooked my meal, and everybody had to eat it, even if they didn't want to eat the healthy food. And it made me really happy because they had to eat sweet potatoes, and nobody likes sweet potatoes.
Brussels sprouts.
And Brussels sprouts.
Yes, I would have also been on the side of the people who would have voted against that wholeheartedly.
And everybody had to sit there and eat it and be happy.
And
So
homemade what?
Oh, and homemade cheesecake. Mom whipped up a homemade cheesecake.
I would have had cheesecake only. I'd have been okay.
And Dad had filet mignon on the green egg. So
why is he special or something? Does he get?
I just asked for something to be cooked on the green egg, and he was like, "All right, filet mignon it is."
There you go. Last question. Maddie's done these great things in just this rapid fashion at the middle school, and just speaking from a person that was there to see her when she first started, I'm super proud of everything that she's done. And I was so happy to have her there. Is there something specific that you can point out that just makes you so proud of who she is as a person?
Maddie has always beat to her own drum. She has always been her own person. She has never been a follower. She at the right 8th grade decided that she was going to go to school at Owensboro Catholic High School, and she knew one person, and that was an hour commute for her each way every day. So we take a young girl into a school where she knew no one, no adults. And for 4 years, she went 2 hours a day on the road, traveling back and forth. So I guess her ability to face the unknown and face it with perseverance and determination. And you're always proud of your kids for what they do, no matter how they do. And I always tell my kids, you don't have to win first place, you don't have to score all the points, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is how you've treated people and what type of impression that you have left them with and that you have cared about them. And all I know is that Maddie has a big heart, and I strive to be more like her. And I think that's a wonderful compliment to my child if I want to be like my child and have a big heart. So she's she's a college graduate. She's almost done with her master's degree in less than a year from graduating from college. And I mean, we're all proud of our kids, and I could go on and on and on about my kids. You can tell by the grin on my face. But I would just have to say one of the best blessings is just knowing that Maddie is always there. She loves her siblings. She loves her family. She loves her students. But most importantly, she knows at the end of the day that the most important thing is how she serves God, and she does that. And to us, we're very fortunate to have Maddie, and she's a blessing.
Well, I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys being on here today. You, you have a long way to go in education. We talked to Nichole about, hey, she could retire in 2 years, but the good thing is you're both staying for another 25 years. Nobody's going anywhere. But in all seriousness, I think I can speak for everybody in Union County Public Schools saying how much we do appreciate the work you do, and how fondly everybody thinks of you. And I could not say enough good things about both of you. So, Maddie and Nichole today, please watch and take some of the advice that they were able to give you to heart. Thank you.
Thank you.